Hi. How are you?
Good.
Good. How are things going in your house?
Oh, they're busy, but things are going okay. It's a lot of emails, a lot of texts, it feels like a lot, but it's going okay. How about you?
Absolutely. Same. It's really busy and we're doing what we can with what we have to offer
Yeah.
right now. And my
Yeah.
kids are being so great about it. And it's going to be a process for everyone. So we all just need to stay positive and do what we can and be okay with that.
That's right. Day by day, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see you, not see you. I can't see you.
Well, I can put myself on. Hang on a second. Here it is.
Yeah, Josie, show us your face.
Yeah, let's see.
Hi.
It's good to see you.
I may
Yeah.
do the 2 o'clock one too, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I fall in this. So we'll see.
Yeah, and you might find that because there was like a Google intro to Google session that was earlier. And I think that some people went in there and then popped out and now are joining this one. And that might happen again this time, right? Because
Okay.
it's hard to judge where people were at. So we just kind of gave like a 3-tiered approach. And if it works for you, perfect. And if not, that's totally okay too. Hi, Jana. I don't see everyone, just a few people.
Can I just ask, when we're not talking, do you want our microphones off, or how do you want us to work that?
Please, if you wouldn't mind, that would be great.
Okay. Just want to say hi to Caleb.
Hi, Josie.
How are you?
Can I just tell a Josie story?
We would love that.
Please, yes, please do.
So I landed at an elementary school to teach kindergarten. Picture it, me, kindergarten. And Josie was across the hall from me. And if you are ever going to be thrown into a kindergarten class for 7 weeks, be across the hall from Josie and do whatever she did last week, do it this week, and carry on all the way through.
Very kind.
It's the only way I survived.
It's so true.
Very true.
Okay, I think we're going to start here in a minute because I don't want to go over time. What do you guys think?
Do you want me to share my screen? Are we there?
I think too, sorry, Kate, just before we get started, I think it's important, and Josie, thank you for asking that question. I feel like we are trying to start slow and then build on it. So today might feel a little bit slow for some of you, but then as we kind of move on, you may find some new information. So please don't feel, if this session does not feel right for you, please do not hesitate to leave and switch over. All of these are going to be recorded and placed at our new website, which we will talk about later. So they're all there for us to look at. So please just go with how you feel best suits you. Okay.
I just realized it may have joined the wrong session. Is this the Google Classroom one, not the Seesaw one?
That's
yes,
right.
This is Google.
Okay, I'm going to say bye. I've got to go.
Hi, Josie.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Hey, Kate. Hey, Alicia.
Hi.
Hey.
It's Errol.
Hi, I see you now, Errol.
Google, right?
Yeah, this is Google.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so we're ready to go. I see it's 12:30 right now.
I think
so yeah, you are here. We're all here together today for currently using Google Classroom for the part A, the first part. So we're going to start our session with the traditional territorial acknowledgement for the area that our school board is in. So we're just gonna hit play there.
We acknowledge that the land on which we are gathered is part of the traditional territory of the Chippewa, Odawa, Potawatomi, and Delaware nations. These indigenous nations, known as the Anishinaabeg and Lenape, agreed through their ancestral languages to the mutual sharing of the land with obligations and responsibilities to the environment. Today, these responsibilities and obligations extend to all peoples.
And since we're all spread out over Southern Ontario right now, we'll say, if you're not sure of the traditional territory you're on, it's a good time to find that out. So today, we're your hosts for currently using Google Classroom Part A, and my name is Gretchen Sands-Gamble, and I am the Special Projects Teacher for Indigenous Education for K-8. And here are the rest of our hosts.
I am Alicia, and I am one of the instructional coaches for the board.
I'm Sharon. I'm grade 3-4 teacher at Winston Churchill.
And I'm Kate, and I am also an instructional coach for the board.
And my turn. I am Helen at Cat School for Immersion.
So the board has set out 6 kind of guidelines as to just so we set some consistency throughout. We need to be mindful of these during this remote learning opportunity. So we're going to just take a minute. We're going to go through these 6 remote learning guidelines with you, and you will see this in each of the sessions. Okay, so Kate's going to go through the first one.
Okay, so the first one talks about how we're setting up learning in an asynchronous way, which means that we're not setting up so everyone needs to be online at the same time or at a specific time. It's just that we can't expect everybody to be there. So instead, we're learning in a flexible way.
Okay. And so we're also going to be thinking about the pace as well. We're going to create experiences for the kids to work, but at their own pace. And we need to be aware that the things that we give the kids to do will take more time at home than they actually do at school. And that's something that I'm finding with my own kids, actually. Yep.
Okay, and the third guideline is to prioritize. We need to ensure that less is more, and that we are not overwhelming families. We are not overwhelming ourselves. We are not overwhelming the students with the amount of work that we are sending out to them. We want you to really keep in mind the learning that is most needed, and just prioritize how we want to push that activity out to our students.
Our next guideline is, or the guideline the board set is the availability factor. I'm sure lots of you have heard about setting up sort of an office hour. I know that says office hours, but I think it's about an hour that they'd like you to set up there via whatever platform you can or already do use, because it is important that you are available to your students and that kind of thing.
And we also need to make sure that the learning that we are offering to our students is intentional. And we want to make sure that resources and activities that we choose will boost the learning and is kind of engaging. So we need to think about what still needs to be addressed in this school year as well.
Okay, and the last one, familiar. So we want to encourage you to continue to use the tools that you are currently using in your classroom, like Seesaw or Google Suites. And if you are choosing to introduce new tools, please do so slowly so that families and students can get comfortable with those before we expect them to use them more extensively. So just stay with what you're comfortable with for now. Okay, so as we go through the Google Classroom with Sharon, we are just going to keep in mind these 6 learning guidelines. Okay.
We just wanted to make everyone aware that these are the other sessions that are running. So this is the Seesaw schedule for today, tomorrow, and Friday. That's available to you if you want to skip over and watch that as well.
And Kate, it's Ben here. Can I just jump in on this slide?
Sure.
Because I want to say thank you to our presenters. It's really wonderful. But this actually, on both of these slides, you can go forward. The thing that's really interesting today is currently right now there are 500 elementary educators engaged in online learning happening right now. We'll have well over 1,000 elementary educators engaged in learning today. But that happens because of Kate and Alicia and Gretchen and Sharon. We appreciate your willingness, but thank you to everybody who keeps jumping in and learning. We know we want to support, but the biggest thing here is this is personalized support for Lambton Kent, and that's what's here on the slide is all the personalized support pieces, Kate. So sorry to interrupt, but I just had to say a huge thank you. The gratitude is flowing here, Kate and Alicia and Gretchen and Sharon, and to everyone who's jumped in today.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks.
So just also want to remind you that all of these sessions will be recorded and they will be available on our new website that we will be talking a little bit more about today. So we are going to post them on the blog, which will then link you to them. So if you miss a session or if you want to see another session, please make sure that you use those. Okay.
Okay. So this slide is just an overview of our 3 sessions. So today, Thursday, and Friday. And today we're really focusing on building a classroom community using Google Classroom. So we'll be using the Stream tab, and we're also going to be setting up expectations because we want this to be a nice, safe place for kids to be able to interact with each other and for the teacher to interact with the students.
We are getting lots of requests in the chat room, guys. If you could just remember to mute your mics, just so that we can try to minimize the background noise as much as possible, we would really appreciate that. Thank you for doing that.
So we're really lucky to have Sharon Drummond here with us today to help us through this. And so Sharon's going to share her screen so that we're able to see Google Classroom and the way that we can use it to build community in our own classes. If you want to use the chat function to ask any questions or have any comments, you can. The chat is being monitored, and we'll try to address questions, but we've got a lot of people in the session, so we will have time tomorrow as well to address the questions that come in, but please ask questions as we're going along.
Okay, thanks so much, Gretchen. So we want to talk about first just building classroom community. One of the things about using Google Classroom in your physical classroom is that it often becomes a way just for assigning work and then having students submit work. And of course, now we've got this new environment where, yes, we need to do that, but we also don't have a lot of the structures that we have in place in our physical classrooms. So we all know that for kids, the classroom's a really social place. And now for some of our students, they no longer have that piece. So they're at home. Well, we know some of our kids may be texting or Snapchat or whatever they're using now. We know not all students are going to have that at home. And so a lot of them feel really cut off from their peers and from the rest of their classroom. And that's not a piece that we've necessarily had to build up in Google Classroom before because we had the physical classroom. So we're going to start with showing a few ways that you can build that classroom community using Google Classroom as a platform for that. So I'm going to get out of here and share my screen. Okay. All right, so one of the things that we have done is we have created a Google Classroom that you'll actually be able to access and go in and check out, as well as to try some things as a student, just so you are prepared to support your students as they're trying to use this platform from home. So this very front page that I come into when I come into my classroom is called the stream, and everything that you post is going to appear in this stream, just like it would in a social network. But this is also a place that we can allow students to have a little bit of agency over. So this is a place that we can encourage them to do some socializing here. So for example, I'm going to scroll right down to the bottom. As teacher, I have just posted this question, how are you feeling today? And then use an emoji to show how you're feeling. So it's just a quick little simple way of getting students to engage without having that academic layer over top of it. So it just gives them a place to, I can go, I can check in, I can add a little bit of a comment. And there's lots of different kinds of questions that you could use to do that. So I've asked, do you have a pet? Post a link to a photo of you with your pet. So one of the things that you'll find in Google Classroom is that it is very text heavy. So we were trying to find some ways that you could use other tools, such as posting a photo. And we can't just put in a photo directly. We have had to kind of do a bit of a workaround. And so students would have to use Google Photos in order to post that photo. So they can still do that with their LKDSB account. You can see Sunny Gamble here. She is a student in our board, and she has been able to put a link to her photo, and it will come up, right? So there are ways to do things that aren't necessarily just text, and that can help the kids just give the reassurance of them being able to see each other a little bit and not just have all of the text, okay? The other thing that we can do, it doesn't just have to be the teacher asking questions. You can enable the stream to allow students to post their own questions or comments. So opening up that space for students to do a little bit of their own sharing. So you can see here, Sunny's asked, what's everyone's favorite book? And then people can answer that question. Classmates can jump in and they can answer those questions. So even though I know it's hard sometimes as a teacher, because there are some things that can go awry, and we'll certainly talk about those things, but it is nice to give students that chance to open up that social space a little bit. Just even something as simple as them saying, hey, I'm stuck on what we're supposed to be doing, or I don't know how to get into where we're supposed to be for the assignment that we're doing. This gives students a forum to ask those questions and allows other students to be able to answer those questions. By default, all of these things are already on. So by default, students are able to post under the share something with your class. That appears for students as well. They're also able to answer these comments. However, you may have already turned off those settings. If you've been using Google Classroom, that's something that you may have disabled. So if you go to your gear, and you can scroll down, and under General, you'll see Stream. And I've got the setting here, students can post and comment. I can change that setting to students can only comment. In other words, the teacher's the one who would be posting those questions and asking for comments, and the students can make comments underneath them. Or you can do only teachers can post or comment. And we'd really encourage you at this time to try that students can post and comment, just because we do want to give them a bit of a social space, right? So we want to give them a chance to connect with each other, okay? So we really do encourage the students can post and comment setting under the gear. I'm going to close that back out. So let's imagine I have added that setting, and we've got our students posting, and just like, you know, you've got that student in the class who maybe has a hard time stopping talking and is interrupting a lesson, you might have the same thing in classroom. You may have a student who keeps on posting like hi 5,000 times, or just like a string of emojis and is filling up the entire screen with posts. That's probably going to happen, as I'm sure you know. There are some ways that you can manage that for individual students. So for example, let's say that Sunny here was having having a hard time following the expectations in the stream, I can go to the 3 dots beside her name. And one of the options I have is to mute Sunny. So if I click on mute, it says mute Sunny Gamble, and it tells you exactly what they can still do. So if you mute a student, it doesn't kick them out of the classroom. They can still submit their work to you. The other students in the class, though, will not see anything that they've posted. So they can't reply to classmates' work. They can't comment. They can't post. So they have very limited access. So basically at that point, you shut down their communication, and the only person they can talk to is you through assignments. So if you do open up that stream, and as I said, we do encourage that, there is a way that you can manage that if it does become a problem for some students. And you can see right there, I could also delete Sunny's post if that's something that needed to be done. Sunny has not been a problem, so I'm going to hit cancel there and not mute poor Sunny.
Sharon, can I just interject for a sec?
Absolutely.
Because I think everything you shared has been really great. There's some features in there that I actually didn't know how to get to, so I think that's very valuable for everybody. So basically what we're saying, I think, or what you're saying, is that we should use the stream as a way for the kids to sort of engage with each other, and not so much content, more about building that community. And then there's different settings that you can set there so that they have different access.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Right. So I
just wanted to recap.
Yep. So yeah, I do see that stream very much as being, it's like the social part of the classroom. It's like the whole class discussion. It's the side conversations that kids are having while they're working on their art or during lunch, right? All of those pieces that we have in our classrooms that now students don't have access to. And they're an important part of school, right? And so let's try to give them a bit of a platform where they can still engage in some of those social elements.
And if we think about things like birthdays and things that are special days, right? Or holidays, like this is kind of the place where you could wish somebody happy birthday or tell a joke for April Fool's Day or something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And even just, I think as a teacher, right, just being able to see those students interact with each other, like that's a really joyful part of our job. And so that's one of the hard things about online, right, is that we don't always have that. And so this can be that platform, invite students, say, tell your best like classroom appropriate joke, right? Give me something to laugh about today. That can be really valuable for students and for you as teacher as well.
I do think just if I can jump in just for a second, going back to those remote learning guidelines that we talked about at the beginning, this is not something that we would expect our students to all be logged in and all responding to these posts at the same time. I know in my own experience, my son, when he has moments where he's missing his friends, he might pop onto his classroom Google and that his teacher has set up, and he might just, see if there's a new post, and then he feels like he is socializing. So I think it is really key to give our kids the opportunity to keep this as a free-flowing kind of chat, as long as it's being done in an appropriate manner.
I think too, my last piece to add in here is I think it's really nice that we have this this way for them to communicate, because we know that it's safe online, right? Versus some of the other ways that they might be communicating with each other, like using Snapchat or TikTok, whatever it is that they're using, right? Where we don't have access to that. And this is somewhere safe that we know that they can talk to each other. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So this classroom community part, I do think the stream, so the first tab here is key to this. However, there are also some good things in the classwork section of Google Classroom that can also be a way to build community. So I'm going to go to that classroom.
Okay, Addie's gone to sleep, okay? So you guys got to keep your volume down.
I'm going to go to that classwork section now. So I've added a topic here called community. Okay, so I've got it divided by topics, math, language. But I've decided I'm going to have just a topic that's all around the community in our Google Classroom. And so you can see one of the first things there is stream expectations. And so I have just posted as material, so it's not an assignment that students need to respond to, but just what are the expectations for posting in that stream? If we're going to have kids being able to post there to be able to ask questions and engage with their friends, we want to make sure that they know what's appropriate. So I've just added this in text there saying these are my expectations for this stream. You can also under stream add other media. So as a teacher, I would really encourage you to think about creating a video and talk to your students on video about what are your expectations for this stream, right? We know for some kids, they're gonna hear it coming out of your mouth better than if they have to just read it. So you could post a video there and explain, this is what I expect for you in the stream. So make sure you make your expectations clear, and next week that's going to be a huge part of what you're doing as you kind of develop that new classroom community in our at-home learning. You're going to have to build up some of those expectations in a way that maybe you haven't had to do before in the classroom. Okay, so make sure you consider that. The other thing I've posted here in community is what's your talent? So this isn't an assignment per se. This isn't about the curriculum necessarily. It's just another way to get students to build community. And you probably do things like this in your classroom, right? What's something that you're great at? So when I click on here, you can see I have posted it as an assignment with no due date because I want students to be able to collaborate and share with each other. Every platform has good things about it and every platform has limitations. And one of the limitations within Google Classroom is it's not easy for students to share visual things with each other. They can share text with each other, but photos or videos are harder. And so what I've done in this case is created a collaborative Google Slides. So when I click on this, you can see here, it says everyone has a talent. Take a photo or video of showing off your talent, find the slide with your name on it, and add your photo. So I'm going to click through to that slide. And you can see in my slides, Sunny has been able to go in and find the slide with her name on it and add a photo of her talent. Right? And so all of our participants here have been able to add to it. So because I have made this editable for the students, I have given everybody editing rights for this slideshow. Everybody can now see each other's work. So it becomes a space where they're sharing with each other rather than just sharing with you as teacher. So even though Google Classroom isn't necessarily have that layer of collaboration built in, we can use some of the other Google tools in order to build in that collaboration. And that's going to be really important, especially, as our closure gets longer, it's going to be really important for students to be able to see each other. So take advantage of some of those tools, and we'll go into that. If you have questions about how to do that, that's definitely something we can look at over the next couple of days in our sessions about how do you go about doing those kinds of things in classroom.
Sharon, we just have a question here that I feel like I know the answer to, but I just want to double check.
Okay.
So the question just says, can you create a video directly using Google Classroom features, or do you have to use your camera and then attach it later like I've been doing already?
Yeah, so it depends on what platform you're using. If I'm using my laptop and I want to, for example, I created material to do this video, my create is limited to my Google tools, and then I've got add and I've got the attachment here, right? So I could attach something from YouTube, or I could attach a file, I can attach something from Google Drive. But on your iPad, I believe when you go into that create tool, it accesses your camera directly, okay? So I may want, I don't know, Gretchen, if you just want to double check that for me, but I feel like that was one of the things we looked into yesterday, where that difference between the iPad and our laptop.
Yeah, are you on your laptop right now?
Yeah, I'm on my laptop.
Yeah, I'm on my laptop as well. So yeah, we can look into that tonight too, and then
So, but I'm like 95% sure that it does. It varies by platform, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm on a laptop or if I'm on a Chromebook, I'm probably going to have to record that video first and then add it as an attachment afterwards.
And that's kind of what we were finding when we were using it this week too, is that we kind of had to work around it that way.
And just one more thing, if you don't mind us talking about, a lot of people are asking about the editing rights and how we can limit the student's ability to edit.
Specifically about on Google Classroom or in something like that slides document that I shared?
It looked like in the
think,
slides.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe in the slides.
So this is one of those, we do have to kind of work within the tool. And so if we want, so this collaborative slides document, if I want to give students the ability to edit the slides in order to add their photo, it does mean that they have the ability to edit anything in that document. So this is, again, a point where norms in your classroom are really important and talking about the importance of respecting other students' work. However, though, if somebody comes in and does do an edit on somebody else's slides, I do have, and this is one of those moments where I'm going to, because I'm doing it just like off, there we go. Version history, okay? So I can go into File, Version History, okay? And I can see everything that's happened on those slides. So I can go back and see, all right, that's interesting, right? So it was Gretchen who was in there. Sunny's photos disappeared and Gretchen was in there, right? Clearly Gretchen's the person I'm gonna have to talk to. I can also click back to that version and I can tap on restore this version. So I can kind of go back in time. And so if something has happened where a student has done something that they're not supposed to do, there are some ways you can, as teacher, go back in, find out what happened, but also then restore to a previous version. So, you know, hopefully that work won't be lost.
Thank you, Sharon. And Jeff Core actually had mentioned that history feature as well. So I think that adds a little bit of clarity for some people's questions.
Sharon, I have some people are also asking, I think if you scroll down in this section, you'll see that you have like a math tab and a language tab. Some people, I'm not sure if this is something we're addressing tomorrow, but they're wondering how to make those. Is that something we're working on today or tomorrow?
Tomorrow we'll go into this whole area inside classwork and how we can create our topics and also what kinds of different things we can do inside of it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So the last thing, as long as there's no more pressing questions right now, the last thing I want to go into in your class settings. So again, that's in that little gear. And this is part of building that community, especially now that we've got students learning at home. It's really important that we have parents have some access to what's happening in Google Classroom. And one of the ways you can do that is turn on this Guardian Summary. Okay, so that's under General in our settings. So when I tab that on, just by clicking that little dot, what they will end up getting is an email that shows a weekly summary for their student. So it will show them any student work that was maybe missing next week. It gives them a heads up as to what's due the following week. And then it shows some class activity for their student. So that's one way that you can help parents, just give them a bit of an eye on what's happening inside the classroom without them having to go in and like monitor everything. It gives them a little bit of an update. So especially for older kids, that's a really good way to help parents, just giving them an eye on what's happening inside there. So I've gone through kind of everything we planned on sharing for today. I'm wondering if there's any more questions that we want to address right now, or if we want to jump into our next session. I'll close off the demo here.
We do have a few more questions.
Okay.
Somebody was asking about privacy issues and what if students make copies of the slideshow and then share it online? Do they have the capability of doing that?
Yeah, they do, right? And I think that's another piece, right? So we've got to talk about norms. We've got to talk about the expectations there. Same thing as when you've got students who have devices in the classroom, right? How do you deal with, oh, that student took a picture of this student, now they've got it on their camera roll. And I know in grade 3 and 4, that's something I already have to deal with, right? Having those conversations about respecting the fact that you don't have the right to share the picture of somebody else. And having all of those conversations. And the good thing is that we're in March. So as much as we're in this new situation that is kind of hard to navigate, for the most part, you already know your students. So you already know kind of where they are. You already know, as far as digital citizenship, what parts your students, you know, have a handle on, and maybe the areas where you might want to do more work before you start doing something like that. So you may know, yep, I could go ahead and do that collaborative slide thing tomorrow with my kids and it would be okay. And you may know, I maybe haven't done enough work around that with them. We're going to have to build up to that because I don't think my students are ready for that, especially when it comes to photos.
Sure. That's so true, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great. I hope that answers, it looks like, Judy's question. The other question I have here is just to clarify, more than one teacher can share a class, right? Like Rotary teachers?
Yes. Let me go in. I can't, like, I haven't, when I added my settings, I added everybody into this one, right? So we have multiple teachers in this classroom. I think it's in this settings that I can go in. General. Okay, this is one of those things I'm going to come back to tomorrow and we'll show how you can add additional teachers. I know there's a way because I did it when I created the classroom. Just in this moment, I'm not going to be able to come up with it like cleanly exactly how I went about and added it. So we'll cover that quickly tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think you have to know their emails, so that's good. We are kind of at the 30-minute mark, I noticed, and there are some questions still pressing here, but we can address those tomorrow. Because we do want to give them the code to get into the class and maybe try some of the things out, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yes. Oh, I think Alicia got kicked out. So,
and because this is recorded, if you have questions that are continuing to come in the chat, we're going to go back through those and we will make sure that we address all the questions tomorrow. So even if we haven't got to one of your questions, you can type it in the chat or you can go to this Padlet by scanning your phone or iPad if you have one right now, or taking a picture of this website.
So yeah, we'll give you a second to scan that QR code or type it in. And so in the next slide, we'll have the code to join into our Google Classroom as a student. So you'll be able to see what that looks like for the kids, and how to, you can try uploading a photo of your talent to our Google slide deck there. So yeah, when you're in, maybe we can address this, Sharon, when you're in Google Classroom and we need to go to the slides, you have to, and you're on your iPad, right? You need to open it, make sure you open it up in Google Slides.
Yeah, you have to, there is a couple step process with your iPad, and we'll show that with screen sharing tomorrow. So you'll be able to see what that looks like. But when you go to open it up, if you can't edit right away, look for the box with the arrow and that will take you out to slides.
I didn't put video and I muted it. So I'm just watching. So which is good because that had a big Tootie Rudy.
Before we still
not operational.
Sure can be.
I think we're just done.
Careful, because you may not be muted right now.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we can go to probably to the next slide now with the Google Classroom code.
On the next slide here,
I think she's frozen, so
okay.
Yeah, this is the class code that you can join if you want to get into the classroom and sort of participate as a student and see what are the things that you can try. And then that might help you. We thought it might help you help your students troubleshoot when they're trying to upload things and try things out and are having a hard time. You kind of have their perspective.
And we'd like to see your talents as well. So make sure that you upload a picture to our slide deck. So you would download Google Classroom or sign in, and then you would click join a class, and then you would just put that code in as it comes up.
Yeah, that was a question that someone said was, where do I find this Google Classroom? So thanks, Gretchen. Yeah. So you have to, again, you just have to download Google Classroom if you're on your iPad, or go into Classroom if you go to your Google account, and then you, there's a button that says join, and you can type in the code and then you're in. Okay.
Yep.
Anything else about joining this classroom? I'm watching the chat here. So is that how kids join too, if they ask us?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
They would use the code. The kids would put the code in, and so yeah, you'd have to share that somehow with your students, and then they would put the code in. Is that right, Sharon?
Yep, they just need that code. So if you don't already have Classrooms set up, then you'll have to have another way of communicating that via email or phone, or however you're currently communicating with your kids at home. Just give them that code and they'll be able to go in.
And if you don't have a classroom set up, then you might want to jump into G1, which is started this morning, but they actually didn't get to the classroom part yet. So if you want to jump in on that tomorrow, that might be beneficial to watch how that all begins and how you reach your students. Okay, should we move to our next slide? Okay, so this is some feedback we'd like to hear about this particular session. If you can go to this website and just takes a minute or two to add your 2 cents in about your thoughts, that would be great. This is was put together by Ben Hazard, I'm guessing, and team and co.
And I noticed we already have lots and lots of people in that Google Classroom. I keep on seeing notifications on my watch about how everyone's feeling with emojis. So thank you for jumping into that classroom.
That's great.
And on that next slide, we have also included, myself, Kate, and Gretchen have included our email addresses. Please feel free to reach out to us. We are all kind of tackling this together, and this is a process for everyone. So if you have any questions, any concerns, if you need some support, please feel free to email us, and we will do our absolute best to support you through this. Okay, and I also at this point just want to give a huge thank you to Sharon Drummond. She has been a saving grace for us, so we appreciate all of her hard work and everything that she has done. So thank you, Sharon, and we look forward to more information in the upcoming days.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.